B plus overall, you know, listening to the teacher. I could see the effort. Like people say, well, how do you see the tour? I don't know how to do half of this stuff, bro. You know what I mean? I can teach, but I didn't know it. I don't know how. I was lucky I didn't go do something I wasn't any good at. I'm pretty good at this. So, I mean, people ask me how I can see the tour. You really have to see the Happy, do you need a force plate to look at the Happy Gilmore run-up and not know and wait till his left foot? Fine, you know what I'm saying? Some of this stuff is not, it'd be nice if they had the studio like Michael Jacobs got. You got gears and this and that. But dang, you know, you got some of these people. He hit up on that 1.8 degrees, just for the heck of it. And it wasn't really like flush, but it was pretty good otherwise. Smash factor was, just because I know it didn't go real good, it was only 1.3, so it wasn't his best. Now he knows what to do. And here's the one thing you've given the good player, that in any lesson, in any little adjustment you're making with them, remember now, good player. Or really studious don't, like, you know, real study. He sees that picture. He's got permission to do that now. He knows he can't look like a non-golfer doing it. So now he's like, I want to do that again. Now you got it. When somebody knows that this is not going to result in something that's going to make him the laughing stock, they will be much more likely to do it, because people really worry about what other people think. It's weird. You see how that ball just like spinning like cuckoo crazy? It's like, that's not what we want. TrackMan was disconnected because Sean Cox on Sean Cox became operator. Sorry. I swear to my Lord, hold on. You got to give up that operator. Wait, hold on, man. I don't know if you did. Tap one out there about 100. Just tap it. You can get on it and look at the numbers, but you got to pick non-operator. We're off the air. Somebody is disconnected. Okay, it's reconnected. You got it when you get in that app. It shows you whether you want to be an operator or not. You kick me off of my whole track, man, in the middle of a operator. A Jeffy Dove operator showed up. Okay, there we go.
No, it was my phone.
One more waggle or two? So, when you hit up on the driver, the ball really won't go any further or spin any less if all you do is take your golf swing as is and make it go this way. I'll explain what I mean. So, let's say he was level. He wasn't, a little bit. Let's say he was level, and he was delivering 14 degrees of dynamic loft, 14 degrees of spin loft. If he hits up on a 2 by just doing this, now he's got 16 degrees of spin loft. If he hits up on a 2, he got the same spin loft. He's got 14 degrees of spin loft. It's going to spin the same if you go straight up in the air. It's unusable. So you know those little den caddies? We have it. We don't have this. We switch to this. Telling the new GM, dang it, I've been wanting to work at a place that had pyramids my whole life. Make it happen. Okay, we have den caddies. Now you know what they look like, right? So what I tell people, imagine it's like a big old tube. Now if you had this big old tube about the size of a den caddy, and you had some old drivers, right? They're laying around every golf shop in America, and we had a make the tube go the furthest contact. What would you do? Okay, I'll show you. Here's what you wouldn't do. You wouldn't hit down on the tube, because you get underneath the bottom of the tube, you'd lift it up, it'd get up in the air, wouldn't have much on it, and go last place. You also, which you did right here, wouldn't hit up on the tube with the shaft leaning back too much. You would hit it much more solid because you get a flush hit, but the tube would go up and it would just kind of come down. We'll go much further than the first one. No, the idea would be to take some loft off and hit up on it. And then you make the tube roll. That's what you're trying to do when you're trying to max out your driver distance. You're trying to de-loft it inside the system. So here's my system, de-loft it. And then put yourself in a position where you can hit up. So, I mean, obviously you can flick it. You gotta de-loft it a little bit while you're hitting up there. And you can do all kind of things that people can't hit up on it. You can put stuff in front of it, make sure it's soft. Head covers work good, you know. Measure it out, see how much forward the little empty water bottle would have to be.
How's it straight?
2.3 up, 1.2 out, 148 ball speed, 137 smash, limited flight ball, one day. It was the longest shot he hit by nearly 50 feet. It launched 13.3, and it spun a bunch because it floated. I talk with these balls for 8 years. I know more about these balls than the Strix on them. Very good. Show me the backswing. Okay, so here's a trick I use. He may not need. Y'all may be able to use. You have to convince somebody that they don't need to do this to get to the ball right away. So here's what I do. Get to the top, and I hold them like this, especially if they're nice looking, and I tell them, okay, now just walk the club all the way to the ball in the circle, and get as close as you can, but without bending like this. So you get one up the butt right there, right? Now, if you add the slide, that gets him half the distance to the goal. So even if you saw him turn, he doesn't feel like he turned. And he feels like, well, that's all the turn I need to get to the ball. See what I'm saying? So watch me do it. I'm gonna do it right here. You watch the booty view. And then you do it. And then I want you to hit one. Okay? So here's how I go. You're going to go. Wait, hold on. I'm not going to do that. That's all arms. Here's with some translation, but no unwind. And I'm telling myself, boy, you know, I just need a little turn to hit it. So do a little exercise like I did. Now with some translation. Yeah, I'll just need a little turn to hit it. I'll just wait for that club in and I'll turn, you know, a little later. I did this because I was moderately confident. 1.3 down. See, I had a reason to be moderately confident. But the further shot he hit, okay, because he reduced the spin loss. So even though you hit down on it a little bit, you picked up some distance. So he has been, no doubt, arm dragging. When that club has changed direction, hit up on it or not, he's been taking that arm down to the ball. And that exercise, do it for me one more time. And do it, look, do it like you would do it, right? So I just did my version. Like if I was going to do an iron shot, this was my version. Like if I wouldn't even hear with y'all, I was just practicing. Dang, I'm pulling too much arm, you know? Don't hit it on the practice. Hold on. Good question. I would say if you do this exercise, you're pretty much taking care of your arm. Good question. If you've got to tell somebody to do that one while you do the other one, but I mean, you know, keep that chest back up. Keep those belt buckles back. Now you shift all you want. Keep it back there a little longer than you think on this one. That one the best. Doesn't take much. Good swing, man. You don't have to mess around with good swings. And interestingly, better numbers all around, slightly down, longer period. So it might be a driver issue or something, right? One more. I can't go down like that. I gotta finish with like here we go. Look, this ball will actually go 20 yards further all by itself. Not under the play. Yeah, let me hit this Pro V1 right here. This SR2 Callaway ball. Okay, backswing. You do your arms. I'm gonna do your belly. No, you turn it. See how far you can get? Feel like you're not turning. But then when you finally do, go. Get tall. Channel your youth. Loud if there wasn't nothing else, right? It was loud if there wasn't nothing else. 3.5 up, 155 ball speed, and survey says 234. We were at 209 when we started this guy. Yeah, better ball, but that's good.
Brian, question?
Yes.
Can you tell us what concerns we should have about these Shrixon limited flight balls? We've just acquired a flight scope, and so
now on TrackMan, you can, I don't know about flight scope, but I'm sure that those people kind of have something. You can normalize those balls out. You go in, you select what kind of ball, you know, it's a category. We're using the type of ball the Shrixon is, a limited flight range, and it'll convert to like a Pro V1 at level, sea level, and all that kind of stuff.
thank you.
If you have a flight scope, I don't know, but I would bet they have some way of doing some of the other.
The rep was kind of non-committal. I felt like I asked the question pretty clearly, and I didn't understand the answer real well, so I need to look into it a little further.
If nothing else, you can just get on you're a good player. Get on a TrackMan with the balls and get some real balls and
make my own formula.
Make your own ball. It's gotta be. It can't be that. It cannot be that difficult. Yes, sir.
Brian, did you hear the comment this past weekend on the telecast that Nick Faldo made about Keegan Bradley saying that he's coming up and out of his shots?
There's a famous Ben Hogan quote. He was watching TV. One of the announcers said, he's coming off the ball. Hogan went, what the hell does that mean? You know what it means, right? So if you feel like you're on top of it too much, just like the people who are on top of it too much too late, you get under it late. If you're doing that and you're Keegan Bradley and you got a massive, strong jump and all kind of club head speed, you'll get under it like this and it came off the ball. What he really means is he got underplaned, stuck behind you, off the ball. They're all just announcer terms and for, I remember Rick Smith, bless his heart, out earned me about $20 billion. Like we always put behind, stuck behind. Yeah, below plane. It's the worst thing. It's the thing that all the good players eventually do at some point. Even the guys like David and Kalkovecki and Nicholas, at some point, good players, they're not doing this because they have to play a slice. They start, firing a little bit and they just can't keep up with the hands and arms. And really, when you're doing that, he's not in here long enough and getting on top of it enough soon enough that he can do this all he wants. Like our lesson with my buddy right over there, right? With the Adams hat. If he's already kind of halfway jumped and he jumps, he's toast. And if he's slightly below plane and not quite plugged in, not run up enough, and he jumps. Keegan's moving off the ball. He's coming out of his shot, or whatever that means. Come on, Nick. You're on TV. Sorry. Those people have a much bigger responsibility to get it right than I do when I do this. And I take what I'm doing today definitely seriously. Because even though I pretty much did this to most everybody I heard talk for 20 years at teaching summits, I listened to some people and I took some of it as gospel and I tried some of it on some real people. These guys are talking to millions of people. I do a lot of work for Golf Magazine. I know the level that you have, I have learned the level that you have to come in at. I push it. Mr. Galileo here. I'm pushing till they say, Like, you know, like in that picture you saw of me and I was hooking it around the tree, I wanted the arrow to go where the ball really went, and I wanted the damn term D plane at the bottom. They went, eh. You know, because they were going to get 700 people going, what do you mean D plane? What plane? What plane? I didn't see a plane line drawn. Like, that's a plane line. That's a plane angle line drawn. But anyway, neither here nor there. It wouldn't take me 2 days to smart Nick Faldo up that nobody could criticize him on TV. Because he doesn't have to come in at the level I talked at today. He's on TV. He's only got to come in right here at the knees. And Johnny Miller does it too. And God bless him. He's been my idol my whole life. You know, I tried to walk like Johnny Miller. My dad said, when you walk by 3 good-looking girls and you didn't even see them, you know, what's wrong with you? I said, Dad, I'm working on my walk. So, you know, Johnny will watch the ball get hit in the heel and the face will do this on swing vision and go, yeah, he's really rotating that face. No, the ball got hit right here. The toe's going to keep going. So, any more questions? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not as much, not nearly as much. So, you remember Pingman. Pingman basically, try to see how I can say this without going on the screen. Okay. So, all it really has is this fixed arm, right? It has a free wrist end. So it makes a backswing like this. This little Pingman backswing looks like. And then they hold it up there. And they go, you know, fire in the hole, right? But it accelerates a certain amount on a certain acceleration amount to this left arm parallel to the ground, this magic spot to swing. And then it, with the 6-iron, it keeps accelerating, like it keeps accelerating, but it slows the acceleration rate. And the 6-iron goes like this. Whew. So we asked Paul Wood, we said, well, what about the driver? Oh, the driver now, see, because the wedge was like this, almost straight up, 6-iron was like this. I said, the driver's kind of like this. Now, it's still accelerating, but the rate, not the rate it was, Art, you'd have to help me with this, not the rate that it was increasing stayed the same. It was still accelerating, but it wasn't, what's the right way to say that? If it kept accelerating at the same amount, the graph looked like this. The 6-iron didn't keep accelerating at the same amount, but obviously it accelerated.
Simply, it's lower acceleration.
It's lower acceleration,
Not
yeah.
decelerate.
Not decelerate, but it's, I mean, just imagine, it's that grossly different. 6-iron drive in Pingman. So we, like little kids that we are, well, we are little kids that like golf swing. Dr. Wood, can you put a driver in there and do the 6-iron profile? We can't keep it on this campus. And trust me, that fence is like, it would go off campus.
Right, that's recognizing the human body's ability with a higher inertia
To decelerate, yeah.
to have less acceleration with a longer, higher momentum.
Absolutely. So the point is, when you're teaching somebody, that becomes sort of like a teaching point, that they're going to feel more arm. In a wedge, they're going to feel more chesty. Now, I'm glad I remembered to tell you all this, because at my last talk, wherever I was, I forgot. It's very important. So, now that we've learned this stuff from Dr. Kwan, I've also learned that what I seem to like is pretty big shifts and pretty big angles. I like shift, angle, big angle, shift, big angle. That's what I like. Don't know why I like it. Seems to look better on video. They play better do that. All fun. Okay, now. Stack and tilters. If when they're on there, shift, maybe not quite as much, but pretty decent amount. And when they come through, because their hips are further forward, they're further forward, when they push up, the vector goes more straight up. We're looking at sort of like a stack and tilt type swing with the vector going more up, and a more traditional swing, we'll call it, with the vector going more back. Okay. So Dr. Kwan drops this absolute gold nugget on us. Says, well, you know, the more the vector is like this, the more everything wants to turn around like that, at the same rate. Not having any idea that every stack control teacher in the world teaches. So God bless them, they got that 100% right. You know, that's what you want to do. But he says the more you vector like this, the more you're going to want to go proximal to distance. So think of BJ Singh hitting the driver, right? Big shift, not a lot of hip slide, so the mass is further back. Now you can have a big shift. You move the mass over here like the stack and tilters do. You can't push this way, you decelerate yourself. So you have to push this way to have the little bitty moment on it. Okay. But a guy like Sadlowski, not slide his hips a lot, but has a wide stance. Probably this guy when we have hit a couple drivers. Big club head speed guys, keep their mass back, have big shift, bigger moment on here, higher speeds. And those want to go like DJ, proximal to distal. And then 2 hours later, I had one good thought for the month, which is what I usually have. I got it. Everybody stands narrower with a short iron than they do a driver. So everybody pushes more vertical with a short iron than they do with a driver. Even if their swing looks like Greg McCatton, he's making the same swing all the time. Just because of just the width of the stance is more vertical. So, hey, Pinkham was right. You have to turn more chesty, the shorter the club, and more proximal to distal, and put more arm swing on the short. So it turns out that that's good. And the stack of tilters, they're over here with the mass and the pressure, and he turns through like this. So when I try to hit, and don't go by me right now, folks, after the surgery, but when I try to hit a knockdown shot now, that's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to go club catching my arms or my hands, arms catching my chest, and then everything turning through together. Which, by the way, is pretty much what all the short game wizard teachers, like Seaton, charging twice as much as me to do seminars, because there's a legion of people who tried to do that on a short shot. Too much of that. And they can't get to the ball, and they get the pitching yips and stuff like that. So basically, they talk about a reverse kinematic sequence. But all you can really think about it is if I did it like this, everything wants to turn through together when you're just pushing straight up with this little bitty narrow stance. So what that means is, if you keep dragging it, it just won't quite line up. Then you'll have to either guess it, you guesstimate, you have to over measure like Runyon taught, or you'll just start chasing it. So what you do, you start lining the club up. I'm doing this in pieces. Line your arms up, and then turning everything through together. But because the club head was going, it started running. In fact, like us three stand right here. Stood in this one. We're running this one. And I started running first. And when I caught you, you started running. And then we caught you, you started running. I'm probably going to be the Allen. Just because I had a head start. So even though everything on the real good pitchers line up pretty good at impact, the club head sort of outraces the arms, and the arms outrace the chest. And that's why the really good pitchers that fall on tour line up with their hands so close to the body. The same reason the hacker, you don't want to do this on a full swing with the bad kinematic sequence too, right? So you want that, start the club early, keep going, and then everything turns through together nice and soft. And that's, but it winds up not, it feels like it's turning through together, but that club head outraces the arms, and the arms outrace the body, and with all that speed in the end, you wind up with the butt of the club real close. Kenny, I've hit something. So this is a little different part. We wanted to do this because this was a real golf lesson. Actually, two real golf lessons that I gave to somebody who, is a really good player, and I kind of wanted to show you where I went with it. And then y'all can maybe ask Kenny some questions too. It's a little bit different. You saw me teach. Hey, I can make everybody's numbers move around like a magic trick. No problem. Magic dust tour. But this is a guy right here that, in my opinion, is tour ability. And for whatever reason, just had a little trouble, struggling a little bit with his golf game. And we had 2 sessions, and it went pretty darn good. So we're about 600. So let's see. So basically, what Kenny was doing, if I get this wrong, correct me, okay? Don't worry about these people. His hands, a lot of good players' hands will go too straight down. So when your hands go straight down, the club tries to stand up. So his hands are going down, club's standing up. Now his hands have to go out to the ball. They should be going in at the end. They're going out to the ball, and then he's trying to turn the corner, hitting heel shots. Can't hit a cut shot, and that's the shot, you know, the normal eyeball sees. So basically what we did is we kept the height of his hands. We got his hands to come out. We laid the club down. We had him back in a little bitty bit, cover, and really jump more back than unwind because he did a lot of that already. So let's see how I did here. Let's see. We'll tune him up. Oh, green flag with that when you see that little sign behind the green flag, that little round little, really high club head speed guy. I want to look at you hitting the drivers down 80 miles. So you can have 6, not that I'm a TrackMan salesman, I don't make any money if anybody buys TrackMan, I wish I did, that's great. You can have 6 simultaneous iOS devices running at one time. We had pictures of Kenny yesterday from between his legs shooting back out. Just trying to see what we see. I brought you I did that with in a lesson. So when a good player is trying to hit a cut shot, right, it doesn't take much, unless they're Bruce Lipsky and they're literally playing trying to slice their 9-irons, he's wanting the ball to fall in, and you know, bullshit. So we figured out his best left number was in the zeros, 0 point something left. So it's very easy. I don't care if it's a maybe former, future tour winner or a 6th flight club champion, right? If you're mitigating the cut, you're trying to get a cut shot around the golf course, and you work on cut shot stuff, it is super duper easy to start overdoing the cut. Super easy. I know I'm preaching to smart people. We all already know that. I'm a guy that plays my best hitting the cut. It can turn into nasty, swipey, junky, nothing ball that spins like crazy. You can't beat anybody. Quick. Draws, they get 2 inside out, but at least you think it's solid. So we're trying to make sure this number doesn't go too far left, but he still, puts the club. We can do it. The easiest thing in the world for a person who is skinny and strong and a good player and a decent club head speed guy who won, 310 at the end of the lesson yesterday, to do is to get out of the jump too fast. They might have a perfect run up, but it's very easy to jump too fast, and especially hit balls in front of people. Stay in there a little longer and then jump on top. That's the thing that makes somebody at tour level look like they're swinging too fast, even if their club head speed isn't really too fast, and their takeaway to impact stopwatch speed isn't too fast. It's the sequencing that you see is like, that ain't right. Ernie Els looks like he's making a practice swing because he's going, right? He just last second getting out of it. 2-4 left there, Ken. So we want him to manage that by how long make a backswing, how well his hands stay, I call them the 14th floor, hands stay on the 14th floor early, how much the club lays down and the club head's down inside his hand. That helps with the inside of the ball, obviously. How much he backs in, how much he keeps his chest turned before what you're trying to do with a good player, in my opinion, especially this type of swing, is get them in a position where they feel like they can just jump on top of it like they're going to hit a pull. And it doesn't pull.
So Brian?
No, I want his hands to come out. Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like I want his hands. So what I do on video is I'll draw a little straight line on the butt of the club when I frame it and I start seeing the club move. Okay, first frame of club movement, line. And I want that butt of the club. Doesn't have to go on the 14th floor. I'll tell people that. But I'll tell them, like, feel like it goes this way and the club lays down. Or regular people, I'm trying to do that too. I'm not worried about the club laying down like a good player. I'm just saying keep it on the 14th floor so you don't do this and swing 10 degrees inside out. But it's going to go down on an angle. There's almost nobody that can play like this on the club. Once the club changes direction, it goes straight down. There are a couple. They are in the super minority. Ricky Fowler, pre-Harmon, I have no idea what it looks like now in slow motion. As much as he laid the club down, his hands came out a bunch. Down and out, down and out. So it's real easy to get swipey. You're working on hitting a cut. So, like I told you guys earlier, I forgot Kenny was coming. So I see a little Nicholas finish 1 yard cut shot here. So we can get him out of, that's 4 left, after a 3 left, after a 4 left, after a 2 left, by the way. All too much. Best numbers 0.5, 0.6 left. But just this different finish will affect his path a huge amount. Cut it in half. And that looked fake at the end. More like to that spot, right? I think his whole swing looks better when he finishes like that. That's a silly feature. So this number is not moving as much as we need to move. So that's right back to where we were, in the early lessons today, of just from the top, right? Settling in, keeping this back, when the hands come down, staying closed longer, and then jumping on top of it a little bit later. Longer. What's the worst thing that could happen? You swing 3 degrees inside out of one ball? Practice. 0.6. So you felt like you were in there forever, right?
Okay, Brian.
Yes,
you said when you started, his hands and club were dropping together.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Good question.
What did you say when you started?
His hands were going straight down, making the club stand up a little bit.
Gotcha.
So if you
Yeah, I follow you.
yeah, like a teeter-totter. If your hands go this way, the club kind of wants to go
The
like
path
that.
and the CD
Hands
were
go
just
this
getting out of whack.
Huh?
His hand path was just getting out of whack with it.
His hand path would go down,
Yeah.
and then the only thing he could do was go this way to get to the ball. And even though he was trying to hit a cut, you think at some point it would turn the corner and go back the other way. It really didn't do it very good, and you hit a lot of heel shift. Then you hit inside out heel.
Okay.
Not a good place to be. That's a draw guy's problem. You don't want to be hitting a 1 yard cut shot inside out. David Thomas has hit 16 million balls, about 2 dimples toward the toe. What you want to do if you fade it, you don't want to be hitting any heel balls. The ball's going to start left, it's going to be swipey, and it's going to go into the wind. It's going to look like garbage. Now, naked eye, to show you the difference between why would somebody ask me, do you need technology? You gotta get technology, but at some point you know enough. Somebody was telling me that lunch, and I went, I wouldn't give a lesson about this thing. I looked at that swing naked eye. I know what I'm told in the last couple of swings. It looked like he did it. And maybe he did, but 2.2 left. Too far left. And I would have just said, yeah, it wasn't perfect, but it was close. It didn't look 2.2 left. It's an invaluable piece of no guessing. A little bit. Just a little. Question?
I just thought that was closer.
I know what I have to do next. I'm glad he needs it. Not because I'm glad he needs it, but I'm glad you can see this is one more thing you can do from down here besides give somebody the business. I'm going to grab him right here and I'm going to help him. I'm going to organize his hips a little bit. Candy cane hips for Greg McCann. Yes, sir. I did it a lot just to show you how much that little bit will move that pad. 0.5 right. I swear on emotion. That's what's missing. Just a little, almost feel like you just kind of pull that hip back a little further coming out of transition. Yes. 1.6 to the right. See, so the other thing that radar does for the good player is he now gets to put the number. He knows what he wants his number to be. It's obvious. And he does the number and he hits it in the plug. Right? He now goes, oh, that felt like that, and that produced 1. That felt like that produced 0. That felt like that, and that produced 1 left. Got the little, maybe little too much of it either. So if you get on track, man, either, if the path goes right, either you backed in too long or too much, or after you did it, you kind of went like this to the ball, remember, instead of jumping on top of it. So you try to give all your students, especially the good players who are going to hit 9 million balls, diagnostics. If it's this way, it's a little bit of that, a little bit of this. You make it like a little recipe, and you give it to them, and you just make some cakes. 0.7 left. Numbers on a good play, the good shots, the path number especially, and the angle of attack number, that was 4.5. That's word that's the word. Yeah, nail. It's nail. That's a California word. It's nail. So you get a couple of drives. So that what will happen is, like, the most unreliable number on radar, and Randy talked about that today, is the face number. Face number, ball went dead straight. I mean, Smash Track is going to tell me it was a good number. It was a 0.6 face. It was a 0.7 path and a 0.6 face. But really and truly, the magic number for him, as long as he hits it in the sweet spot, which he's going to do, and as long as he keeps his angle of attack reasonable, is a magic one number for him. And the tour player type player, it's a path number. Again, good hit, good angle of attack. It's the path on the tour level. And I promise you, we said for 99 years, the difference between Michael Finney and David Toms and Chris DeMarco and Tom Bartlett and Bobby Schaefer and Mark Calcavecchia is face control. We got that one wrong. Angle of attack and path. Anybody at Jaws level can control the club. That's a problem for a 30 handicap. And you fix that right away. You just tee it up right in that little spot where it beats down. Also pay attention to, like, good players will ask very few questions unless they're like the Tom Kite type. You give them quick answers, direct answers, but you do the same. Here's what I like to do in a lesson. I like to cheerlead. I'm not a cheerleader. Nobody's paying me by reputation to cheerlead. There's some guys, I think by reputation, they're just really good cheerleaders. I might go to them to get pumped up. so I don't finish last in the section champion, right? But you use your compliments and your non-compliments like nuggets in a lesson. Use them like nuggets. Don't, but make the compliment real. You know? Honey, how do I look in this dress? Great, baby. And they know you're full of it. You know, you say, yeah, I like it. They know, probably hate it. And then when they say, boy, does that look good? They know it means something, right? Don't follow that advice. That probably got a lot of people.
Brian, that look of the extreme leftward swing to the shortstop or third baseman practice swing. You see so many tour players doing with Kenny throwing. So that you don't get underplayed.
Okay. So, sorry to interrupt, Ken. So, over, inside, outer. This is how Brian attacks it, right here. The hurdle drill, first drill. Okay, so, okay, stand right here so we can see. I take a ball. I say, okay, you get no bonus points for swinging fast. Randy speed swing. Ben Doyle practice swing, speed shot. Drill. Address your ball, go to the top of your swing, stay on the 14th floor, turn your chest to a new line, like 45 degrees to the left. Let it out, brush the grass, finish like a tour pro. Looks like this. Back to 2,000 people I taught that drill to, 4 people have ever done it right in the first ball. Matter of fact, David Toms, once, David Duvall right there, on the first try at a tour event, did the drill and towed it right between Duvall's legs. Duvall had just hit the 3-wood about 350 yards. Yeah, that was Duvall closing the ball goes like this. You hoping he didn't see it. At the last second he goes and just knocked it back between his legs. That always does. So I got a big mouth. Y'all figure that out? But on the tour you have to kind of whisper, so I walk over here. I said, might have helped, you know, but like I whispered it. You've all heard me, you turn around and laugh. I gotta like a guy that can laugh that loud, you know what I mean? So, did we do that with you? Harold did? No? You didn't either. Okay, so there was a couple people though, right? Now, I like, every time I have a drill, I have at least one drill in the between the drill and just hit the ball, trying to feel the same thing. I call that a bridge drill. So you see about where they're scraping the ground, and you put a ball over there, and I don't usually keep the first ball there. I say, okay, now you're going to go carry, go to that ball, hit a little cut. And then if you can get them doing that, you know, TrackMan's running, it'll get like 25 degrees outside in. What you start doing then, I say that's where the ball was relative to the ball that I hit. Yeah, he needed it. He was 8 degrees inside. I'll let him hit a few of those. And eventually, I start creeping the ball back, further and further back on the circle. And then I tell the over, inside, outer this. Even on the ball, I'm making this a half a triangle because I only have 2 hands. I need one on the club. Even on a shot that you hit correctly, your chest is pointing left of the ball when you hit it. So good players don't really go any other way, so they have to feel something. And I don't know what came first. I was doing that 20 years ago, so I don't know if somebody saw it or whatever, but you see McDowell doing it over here, you see Tiger doing it. They're trying to get the feeling, not going down the elevator shaft here, but running along the 14th floor, but really you're probably running down the ramp a little bit. Because if you do that, you carry your hands out enough. Remember, folks, you want, when you get to that right leg, so here you are like this, right? Left arm parallel to the ground. You start pouring it on right here. You get to the right leg. That is the point. Right about right by, give or take, right? That's as out and as down you want your hands to be. Out and down as you want your hands to be right here. You want the hands to go up and in. So you look like Tiger Woods in 2000, not Michael Finney in 2006. Sorry, Michael. Cost you $10 million. $10. Ooh, Michael, so pure. Michael Finney, so pure. And he was, except too much down, too much down. Too good of a student. Again, remember Brian's first rule teaching? What the teacher says. So we used to have this guy, Jimmy Self. He gave more golf lessons, okay, from 1978 to 1993 than any other person on earth. I promise you, because he taught our driving range was open from 8 o'clock in the morning to 11 at night, and he pretty much taught every hour except for lunch. He did a lot of half-hour lessons, and he just cranked them out like Greg in the old days. He just cranked them out. They're going out of town. And he would pose people in this position, and nobody would get them. And some of the players could really play. It's garbage what he's teaching. It's garbage what he's teaching. You don't do that in the golf, but they didn't. So they played good. So it was like a suggestion, and maybe he meant it as a suggestion. So we taught Archie in his like physical prime, and Archie looked just like Jimmy posed. It was really bad, you know. Archie had a real big problem. So yeah, so a lot of times on like, and I'm like Butch Harmon, arguably the #1 guy in our business, and he's a nice man. But in 2000, everybody says, "Oh, Tiger should run back to Butch." Maybe he should. And then Butch this way. He did a PGA Teacher and Coaching Summit. He said, "Here's the 7 things I'm working on with Tiger." Best I could give him is 4. Best I could, and a Russian judge coming in at the last second might have gave him 4. I mean, really and truly, he's probably doing 3 of those 7 things. But Manzella, just being nice, says 4. So I'm not saying Butch wasn't teaching him those 7 things. So I'm the kind of guy that I do a little bit of that when I'm teaching, but I try to get a little more liberal. I'm always worried that you're going to have a guy like Craig Perks. I taught Craig Perks when he was in college, and Craig Perks did what I told him to do, and I didn't even mean it. I meant it as an exaggeration, and I ruined him. And it was a miracle that he ever made it at all. I was telling you, I ruined him. And I'm going to try to hit you when the U.S. Open. I'm going to get ready. It's about time I can get rich. Oh yeah, keep that hip back a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. It's like a really free, just didn't put much balls in the last few minutes, kind of really soft. I like it. Good players instinctively know how much their body can handle. I really am a big believer in, and we did this with Kenny yesterday, is you get him hitting good with the driver, hitting good with the driver, hitting good with the driver, hitting good with the driver. Got a couple more minutes in the lesson. Here might be a good time to say, Kenny, not now, but yeah, we did yesterday. Come on, man, show me what you got, man, give it to me. So Hogan, apparently what he did, kind of like wind sprints, the end of his practice session, basically what he would do, he would hit a shag bag of every ball, every club. I don't know how many balls were in the bag, but he hit a shag bag, all the pitch shots, 3/4 wedges, equalizers, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 drivers. And then the last thing he would do was hit 50, he must have 50 balls, 50 drivers, and every swing, a little harder than the last one, a little harder than the last one. Now, could he really do that? But he was trying to. So my buddy Brent White, left-hander, worked for the people at Shady Oaks Head Pro, like I told you before. And the whole time he was there, like probably 10 years when Hogan was still alive, Hogan gave him 1 golf lesson. They were walking past each other in the locker room. And Mr. Hogan said, "Brent, make a swing." And that went, "Oh, hey, Mr. Hogan, how you doing?" "No, make a swing." "Oh, what? Oh, make a swing right here?" "Yes, sir, make a swing." "Okay, here." Swing. Make a swing. Hard. "Oh, okay." Harder. There were 6 harders. Right, remember. That's it. Logan walked on. A little harder than the last one. Not as hard as club pro-itis in the shop. You get a little bit of this. That's not a golf swing. There's no transition to that. You start trying to swing harder, you get more Happy Gilmore like. You start throwing it up. So just good players will typically react to the wind a lot on their angle of attack. So yesterday we were a little downwind, a lot of 1, 2 degree, 3 degree up, launching it straight up in the air. He just hit 4.6 down on that one and launched it low, 5.8. Have it. If that wind starts blowing at your back, you start swinging that way. That's why Hogan didn't like that. The hardest thing in the world to do is get about a 15 mile an hour. You don't need 20, 30. 15 mile an hour crosswind and go get whoever you want. And they will not put up their regular numbers. Yeah, who it is. Tiger in his prime. Hey, Tiger, what's your regular numbers? 2 and 1, man. Okay, give me that 2 and 1. Wind's blowing 20 in right here. You ain't doing it. Even if you had the chart that said, yeah, look, a ping man, your club head speed, your spin loft, your everything, the ball starts at the tallest tree and hooks to that other tallest tree, which is like way left of the target. Even if you told him what the ball did, it would take him 20 balls to put up his stock number. Turn him around, whether the wind ain't blowing or it's straight downwind, he'll put up his regular numbers in the first ball.
What do you do about that?
Try not to practice any funny winds. Or practicing them, knowing what you're practicing. If you're practicing, how do you handle that wind? The best way is not the same for everybody. Some people will just keep the, like, okay, you have to wind up your booty. Some people will swing the same and just close the face a little bit more. That's what I do. David swings more inside out. And you got to know that, because what if what if you're going out playing windy conditions, you work on it a little bit. Hit this a little hard. So like not a hook in 2 days. So you're starting to see, when you work with a good player, the Hinda House story, Hinda Open Hall. Again, very important story to tell you. So, don't worry about that, we'll get it. So Hinda House was this 75-year-old school teacher whose husband was cheating on her. At least she thought so. Probably not, right? And she came to me for lessons. And back then I used to teach short to long. So she was about the 4th lesson, and this was about what she could do. She could hit a pitch shot about that point. So I said, okay, Hinda, go ahead and hit me a little chip. And she went like this. She saw it was bad. She knew she topped it. She looked at me and she said, huh. And I said, well, Hinda, remember? Flat left wrist, bent right wrist. Oh, she went like this? I'm like, yeah, just like that. You could see her thinking. You do this long enough, you could see your students thinking. She was going to have a flat left wrist and a bent right wrist. It killed her. Flat left wrist, bent right wrist, top. And she looked at her hands and she looked at me. And I went, Hinda, you bent over. You gotta keep your bend over. Oh, okay, like this. Of course, she exaggerated a little bit. I went just like that. So now you see her thinking. Stay bent over her. And I'm going to keep my left wrist flat and my right wrist bent. She did this. Well, I mean, no, she boxed it wrong. She kept the wrist flat. She kept herself bent over, maybe bent over more, and she boxed it wrong on top. Okay, so in Hinda's mind, somewhere deep down there, I call that worms coming out of the ground, she thought she was supposed to do something to lift the ball up. And all these things I was putting in, which were obviously good ideas, better than what she was doing, they were just making the water come out someplace else. So these hooks we didn't see for a couple days, so they're telling me, you know, more really than the good shots tell me. Was this the shot that caused the hands to start going down at some point? Scared to hit the left shot. You know, he don't even remember. It just happened one day. And he hit a couple left shots and he started dropping it in to try to start the left shot out. Is that how it? At the end of the day, when you're dealing with somebody who has played good, you played in one U.S. Open, two. One, yeah, that's still more me. So, Pebble. The big thing is, play good. He can play good. So a lot of what you're doing, because you don't have like every TrackMan number of his life, every video, every 3D of everything he's ever done, is archaeology. You're trying to figure out how did he show up with his hands going down, hitting every shot in the heel, and for 2 days in front of me, he hit it in the sweet spot towards the toe after we, moved him up with it. So the last thing we did yesterday, hard, and if you remember, right? Set up. But just like I did with that other gentleman, I didn't do my standard regular player on the ground, right hip here. I mean, hand on right hip here. Left hand on the. I got this way on Kenny, and through the ball I pushed him. Just yeah, me. Because he sort of lost it. Kind of wound up. Look, a lot of times on video, the only thing you would see an impact if I showed y'all, and it would have been this morning, just kind of facing the ball, not really that one. So, as you've already probably figured out, Greg, set up the phone and show me what you think the impact is. Just show me I put my hands on people a lot. I mean, I'll do this. I'll get right on it. I mean, you don't have to do that. I had a guy one time say, putting your hands on a student was a sign of a weak teacher. And then somebody said, well, but you have to ask him. I said, come on, man, it's like asking for a first kiss. You'll never get one. There you go. Right? I don't even know how that ever happened. Lucky I'm married. Report the numbers to you folks, but for whatever reason on that ball, little heel, shot. Come see from behind. Do it. When the left shoulder comes up, this one is left arm comes up, and the left So that's where we came in this lesson, right? We came in with those hands really straight down. So one of the things I showed them yesterday, which is just something I'm showing y'all in case somebody has this idea. One of the guys here, we're talking about Dr. Global, we've learned a lot from him too. And one of the things he always talked about is if you were swinging at this table, it's like you're swinging at the table, but instead of the club staying on the table, beta torque, the hand goes under the table and the club goes over the table. Shaft stays on the plane, like right here down. Right? So to do that though, you can't do this, and then you have to come up to the table and hit it, right? So that's sort of why your hands have to kind of have a track that's somewhat out, because then you can't have all the force going out enough that when you do this little move at the end, you can do it. That's kind of how we started the lesson on Saturday, right? Getting this to lay down and backing in, just like I showed you, if you remember, like a hockey player, right? A hockey player skating around, he's laying that stick. Gotta have a scientist that'll tell you what a stick is. And we don't play a lot of hockey. We call it ice melt. And then you just jump on top of it. That's how we started. And I showed him, I thought it was a bench or something over there. And I said, you watch how your hands go right around that. Right here, the right place. Right, they come right to here, but it went around this little bar. That's what it was. So if you lay it down enough, you keep the club head inside your hands enough, you back in enough, if you do this little move, it's just way, way, way right. So you put yourself in a situation where you're trying as hard as you can to feel like you're hitting a pull, like you're jumping on top of the swing, just like I told him, hit a pull. But you don't want to hit a pull, you want to go straight. You want to lay it down enough and back in enough that your feeling of a pull, which feels strong and goes far, is a straight ball. Yes, Mr.
I was watching you work with Kenny and Dave, I believe.
Yep.
In the morning.
Uh-huh.
And I remember, like with Kenny, you had like a bag stand, and there's something the inside one and then the outside
Yeah.
one. And then you also had him throw the ball in front of the ball throwing one.
You were
And the
ball
other
bouncing,
guy,
right?
he was ball bouncing. The other guy, you had rock
Ball skipping, yeah.
Yeah, ball skipping.
So there's two different ways to apply that little jump on top move, right? So the more traditional way would be like we do with you. You're trying to back in and then throw a ball. So here's your ball. It bounces down the target line. This is going to look really funky in this arm, so forget it. But here we go. So I could just throw the ball down the target line, no problem. Little left, right? But that was not a backhand, right? That was just me doing it. Now I'm going to back in and throw it down the target line. That was actually 10. That's what you got to do. You got to back in enough, throw it down the target line. Now, the other guy you were talking about, John, his deal was all screwed up, but he had to feel like he opened up, like more like David earlier swing, and then he had to feel like a rock skipping attitude. Because he needed the late shallow, the exact opposite. So your bad shots, you get in the rock skipping like that one that goes over here. You want to feel like, no, I'm in a position where I feel like I have to jump on top just to make it go straight. That's what I want you to do.
Brian, 3 o'clock is pretty much, if you wrap it up, maybe you answer some
We're
questions.
3 on the button or not 3?
Yeah, we're the last.
Okay, hit one more, just trying to lay it down and jump, and we'll take a couple questions and then we'll stay late for whoever wants to. One more. A little more. Keep that hip back. Last shot, and it was finished. Then we'll work some after we're done. Ain't leaving you with that. Okay, I'm going out of town. Thank you.
$10 million.
Thanks for playing.
Well, that would be a good one to go on though.
Good on him, not on me. But you see how dangerous that little hang-on move is, right? And that's why I'm really big on. That was swing.
What do you mean by hang-on move?
Okay, his numbers there, just so you want to know, it was 1.0, which got a bunch of cut shots, okay, right? His good numbers are slightly left, but he had a bunch of, bailers. So 1.0 inside out is a good number after all those, with a 0.1 open face. So that's a really good little draw number, really good.
What do you mean by hang-on move?
This one. That would be exaggerated, like, DeMarco or something.
Finish?
Yeah, just this not finishing like this. Just all this stuff over your head and reversing out the left arm that looked like something. It just hasn't worked very good for me. I know it probably worked a little good for some people, especially if you're teaching everybody to hit big draws. You kind of cut off the draw a little bit, so it doesn't draw too much.
That concludes the official part of the presentation of the day. If you'd like to hang out, I'm sure Brian is willing to answer questions. I can't thank you enough, sir.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it very, very much. Again, our thanks to Callaway and Rudy's here. If you want to hit anything, Dan is here. If you want to hit the little one wedge and fresh fruit, Rudy's Brian's actually got some fresh fruit for you over there. So stick around and talk to Brian. Get over there, and if you have to leave to beat traffic, the people movers are right there, and we'll be taking you back up to the clubhouse. Thanks, everyone, and Fall Summit is not far away in October.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I got some.